So grants coming out of Law Enforcement Assistance Agency, the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, the Justice Department, etc., had nothing to do with causation of crime. They didn't care. It's if we have crime, what do we do with them? In my first graduate course I took in criminology, we spent the whole semester trying to define what crime is. And that's when they were just starting into the aspect of white-collar crime. And the big issue then was the price-fixing case with the big electrical companies on the big hydroelectric generators they were putting in dams along the various rivers, particularly the Columbia. And that upset criminologists quite a bit because it was a mammoth crime, and the attitudes toward that was a lot different than some guy getting robbed at gunpoint, even though the economic loss was much bigger. So for years, criminologists studied causation and the demographics of crime and things like that. When the Law Enforcement Assistance Agency was formed, it had the attitude, we don't care what causes anything. We okay?
Yeah, we're okay.
We don't care about things like that. We just want to stop it. And the end result of that was, of course, zero tolerance. You know, I'm right, you're wrong. If you don't like it, fuck you. I'll strike that. If you don't like it, hell with you. And this seems to be the attitude of the administrations right now, is once they get into power, there's no compromise. So what you've got then is dating clear back to Nixon. You've got some people in there that wanted to change the vision of this country and things that were hinted at through the Mitchell statements and things like that, and through what Thompson wrote about, and now seem to have been very much right on. And that was the increase of power in the government, and particularly among law enforcement. The other thing is all the time that J. Edgar Hoover was alive, and he's not exactly known to be a great civil libertarian, he kept his people out of the drug enforcement area, not because he was ideologically for drugs or anything like that, but because he could see from a criminological basis how this became the basis of corruption worldwide, and it does corrupt that kind of money. Look what's going on in Mexico today. So much money is involved, it's turning into a slaughterhouse down there.
And Colombia before that.
And Colombia before that, sure. So as a result, I remember when I campaigned years and years ago in the 70s, talking about the drug war then, and I said, well, close your eyes and imagine every country in the world from which drugs are shipped. They all have certain things in common. Every one of them is a pro-West right-wing military dictator. And if you're a pro-West right-wing military dictator, what do you need to stay that way? You need weapons. And you need toys that you can scare your people with. And look at what Allende did and Juan Perón and people like that. So you got helicopters, you got tanks, you got bazookas, clear up to machine guns, assault rifles, things like this. They don't get those things cheaply. And where do they get the money to pay? And that's where the drug money comes in. There's this tie between drugs and guns and warfare, things like that I've been researching since 71, or since the year, no, before that probably. Now, if you again fast forward to the date, how did that come about? How did we get to the position where it's going to be hard to dismantle? Well, I remember, and I'll tone it down there a little bit, but we were talking about, when I teach criminology, I'll say to the students, how many of you think it's a good idea to have confiscation laws and things like that so that the criminals that you're busting pay for the law enforcement. And most of the young people are idealistic, and I'll see their little hands go up, and well, they're not little hands, they're college students. But I would say when they first start out, probably between 70 and 90% of the student body in my class feel that we should have forfeiture laws and things like this. And there's nothing wrong with it. So I can see they never had the perspective that I had. They went through the civil rights movement and didn't go down south and meet people like Bull Connor and things like that. That I said, okay, the first time I did this, they couldn't catch what I was doing. But I said, let's assume that you're the mayor and the town council of this town, and I'm Bull Connor. Well, after 3 or 4 times trying to explain who Bull Connor was, I said, well, we'll forget that. I'm your chief of police. And you tell me that, you're nervous, the people are nervous, we want you to crack down, and we want you to cut down on the crime rate here in town and things like that. I said, well, that's a real simple thing to do. We'll run all the blacks and Hispanics out of town, your crime rate will be 1/3 what it is now. Well, you can't do that. That's what the students say. Why can't I? Well, it's this, it's that, it's a civil rights violation or whatever. And I keep saying, well, how are you going to stop me? Pretty soon they figure out, since they're the council and the mayor, the way you stop a lunatic like me, being chief of police, is to cut off funding. So you come to me and you say, Chief, we're going to cut off your funding. And I said, fine, cut off the damn funding. See if I care. So I get my guys together and I say, we'll go to the evidence locker and take out samples of evidence. And anybody that drives a Porsche, Mercedes, or expensive BMW, expensive car, pull them over and throw the baggie in the back seat, arrest them for possession, and we'll confiscate their car. We go to a house, if it's an expensive house and it's paid for, throw some pot or other drugs in there, and we can confiscate the damn house. Now, how are you going to stop me? And that's the danger of the confiscation laws and things like that. That all of a sudden the police become self-funding. The same way as the dictators in Vietnam, in Central and South America, stay in power and they're self-funding, not based on taxation or anything like that, so they can buy their toys and weapons to subjugate the people.
Pause there for a minute.
Yeah.